Hi, and welcome to CSGV at Home. My name is Andrew Patrick. I am the Director of Political Communications at the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. I want to thank our guest that we have here today, Toby Hoover, the founder of the Ohio Coalition Against Gun Violence, and Ari Davis, our Senior Policy Analyst at the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence and our sister organization, the Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence. Thank you guys so much for being here with me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's great.
So we want to talk about a very important thing that's happening that's kind of flying under the radar nationally. But Toby, you brought together a coalition of different GVP groups, Amnesty International, Giffords, Everytown, Brady, and we've been working really since the summer on stopping Ohio legislators from, it looked like they were going to sneak through a Stand Your Ground bill. But now it's gotten a little bit more complicated. It's a lame duck session. There's some tensions between Republican legislators and the Republican governor in Ohio. So can you talk a little bit about what is going on in Columbus and what we know about these dangerous bills that are possibly moving through the legislature there?
Sure. It's been sort of a mess in Ohio. They started out with a couple of Stand Your Ground bills, and this is sort of repetitive. We do this every 2-year session, it seems. And other times we've got to the end and it seems like, okay, they come to their senses that part's not going to work. But this time they had a little more comprehensive bills. And now that they've gotten down to the end, all of a sudden in this lame duck, we had 2 new Stand Your Ground bills introduced. And they are real simple. So that people don't have other things to, object to. We're not sure that the idea of that isn't so that they can attach one of those simple ones as an amendment to some other bill. But there have been more people that have been down to the State House or called or sent, or testimony has been fabulous. One of the things that has happened is some of these hearings that they've had on Stand Your Ground, there will be 4 people there as proponents and then 80 people there as opponents. And whereas they act real polite, they still go ahead and vote for it. So it's one of those things pretty much down party lines. The governor is a great big question mark because he has stated previously that he would go along with Stand Your Ground. But he's been holding out for a bill that he introduced himself after the Dayton shooting. And so they kind of been going back and forth of, I'm not going to sign any of your bills unless you give me part of my bill. And we don't see any of his yet. But anything could happen in this last 2 weeks. That's usually when they do their work where they think nobody's watching. And so this coalition that we formed in Ohio is to let them know we are watching. Not only in Ohio, but all over, that we're watching what they do in those 2 weeks. It's always been fascinating to me that that's when they want to do all their work so their constituents can't really see what they're doing. So it's good to get the messaging out there. And then, it's frustrating for people like all of us because the messaging is so bad from the other side about I ought to be able to defend myself. And do you really want me to run away and get shot in the back and all those kind of things? Whereas we keep saying you can defend yourself now if you're attacked, and you would be able to keep right on doing that. You don't need this bill to say you don't have to consider it. And I think those were kind of couple of magic words in these bills said, anywhere you have a right to be, and you don't even have to consider any kind of retreat. Well, that's pretty broad. You don't even have to consider it. And you think, well, I don't know. It's another downhill step for civilization, I think, when you don't even have to think about it.
People shoot first. We know about this type of legislation. We saw it in Florida with Trayvon Martin. We saw it with... Sorry about that. We saw it with Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia. It is a legislation that is racially charged and has been used as a permission to license to kill African Americans in some instances. So it's incredibly dangerous. It's what we are fighting against and have been at CSGV for a long time. We want to thank you so much for pulling together this coalition to really bring it to the forefront in Ohio. Ari, you've done a lot of research on this. You have been on some reports, put out some reports about these stand your ground laws. What can you tell us about those?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what you just mentioned, Andrew, is spot on, right? So stand your ground laws both make everybody less safe, right? So the research is very clear that when states pass these laws, there isn't a decrease in violent crime, there isn't a decrease in robberies, and there's actually an increase in homicides. So one really established researcher looked into this and found an 8% increase in homicides nationally as a result of stand your ground laws. And so that translates to 600 additional homicides every single year. So what we've seen over the last 15 years is the gun lobby push this myth that guns make us safer, but the reality is it makes us all, it puts us all in danger. And now we have, I believe it's more than half of the United States has these dangerous laws. And the second point is that these laws are designed to exacerbate inequities that are already within our criminal justice system, right? And so they're predicated on kind of racist notions. And so when you look at who's getting, who can use a stand your ground law to get off from, can use it as a defense, white homicide defendants who kill a black victim are 12 times more likely to have the law ruled in their favor than black defendants who kill a white victim. So it's very clear who these laws are intended to protect, and it emboldens racism, and it allows people to murder with impunity. So it's just, and then you see, and I believe there was one piece of legislation in Ohio even where they introduced an aspect of pretty much allowing folks to shoot at what they call looters. So if someone perceives that someone's looting or protesting, you could potentially shoot. You could invoke stand your ground laws for that. So it's just it's very fitting to see that when we're having a racial reckoning this summer, folks in Ohio, instead of coming to terms with the fact that our criminal justice system is racist and we need to reform it, they're doubling down on these racist laws. So,
and even more importantly, why we stop these from being enacted and really shine a light on what's happening with these legislators who seem determined to try to get this through. So to that point, Toby, there's a petition. We're doing a Twitter storm on Wednesday, the 15th of December, I believe at 3:00 Eastern time.
Tomorrow.
Yep. Or no, sorry, Tuesday.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what else we can do, what our followers can do to get involved and to support and raise?
I think everybody's comfortable, expressing themselves a little bit in a different way, and so we encourage them to contact their own legislators however they can, and also remind them that they're not going to be put on the stand and have to answer a bunch of questions, because that makes people reluctant. But we want them to call their own legislator. We want them to send an email. We want them especially to tweet if they can to the governor, because he's going to be our last savior here as far as if the bill gets that far. So we want him to veto it. And, like Ari mentioned, there's other places that there's some stand your ground in there, like, if you think there's a riot, and if there's a protest, which they've had a bunch of here, and they've just had more because we had a nasty shooting in Columbus last week that I don't know all the details of, nobody does, but there's a lot of that going on. And then there's the people who believe that any protest is a riot. And I think that's, a message that we have to keep telling our people that, no, those two things are not the same. And so when you call or you send an email, you know, you need to keep reminding them people can defend themselves if they're really attacked, but not just because they think they might be or they fear what somebody else is doing. And that's what it's boiling down to, is if somebody's afraid, they think that they can shoot first. So, you know, call, email, tweet, any other connections you might have with any one of your legislators. You know, call those people and say, hey, I think that guy's a friend of yours. Would you call him up and tell him no? All those things make a difference.
Yeah, and we're going to put all of those links out there, and hopefully
Great.
really get some traction and make some noise about this. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me for a few minutes. Let's stop these bills. So best of luck, and thank you again.
All right. Thanks for your help.
Yeah.